We are seeing a highly visible surge in international military pressure and strikes directed at Iranian state assets. In the short term, interests align perfectly. The Iranian opposition on the ground, the United States, and Israel all share the immediate goal of weakening the regime's military apparatus and fracturing its structural power. But here is the core complication. Foreign powers evaluate risk differently than citizens do, and might prefer a weakened regime over a total collapse. A true popular revolution is highly unpredictable, and planners in Washington often hesitate to replace a known enemy with an unknown variable. When citizens pause their own resistance to watch the skies, expecting external actors to solve a domestic crisis, they actively remove their own political and physical agency from the equation. Relying entirely on geopolitics is a dangerous trap. External military pressure can damage a government, but true regime change requires citizens to reclaim power on the ground, rather than looking to foreign airstrikes for salvation. To understand why, we have to shift our focus from high-level international politics down to the historical reality of nations subjected to heavy bombardment. The outcome is frequently a failed state. Look at Syria, a government that sustained massive infrastructural damage, lost cities to ruins, yet maintained its absolute grip on power. This happens because of state system adaptation. It is the process by which authoritarian regimes rapidly restructure their security forces and supply chains to survive airstrikes and resource loss over time. A state can stagnate in this heavily bombed, depleted condition for decades. Fracturing internal control requires rapid, decisive, and highly localized action that the state cannot prepare for from above. Because authoritarian systems adapt easily to falling bombs, physical occupation of urban space by citizens becomes the single vulnerability the regime cannot adapt to. To see how that physical occupation works, we have to pivot from macro geopolitics down to the micro-level layout of an Iranian city. This is the scale where the actual conflict is decided. The strategic vehicle for this is Chaharshanbe Suri. Chaharshanbe Suri is the traditional Iranian festival of fire, where people gather in the streets at night to light bonfires and use fireworks. This event provides perfect cultural camouflage, allowing citizens to flood the streets with handmade explosives under the guise of an annual tradition. This map of a city district shows the first rule of engagement: explicitly avoid hard targets. Hard targets are heavily guarded state buildings and militarized zones where regime forces have structural and tactical advantages. Engaging them directly only causes unnecessary casualties. The second rule is to redirect forces toward capturing soft targets. Soft targets are safe, familiar residential neighborhoods and side streets where the state lacks an immediate fortified presence. This leads directly to the third rule. By capturing interconnected residential blocks, citizens naturally sever the regime's logistical access and isolate remaining forces by cutting off the main arterial highways. This specific tactic flips the entire power dynamic. Holding a safe zone for just 7 hours physically subtracts geography from the regime's control without firing a single bullet. A successful revolution is never a single spontaneous event initiated by a magical call to action. It is a series of escalating, localized tactical tests. When citizens realize they can capture 4 neighborhoods on a Tuesday night, they can double that to 8 neighborhoods the next night. That creates a compounding mathematical problem for the regime. This exponential growth in civilian-held territory forces state security forces to stretch themselves across an ever-widening grid. Eventually, they thin out to a breaking point, where they become mathematically incapable of retaking the city. True political change and national salvation will not come from foreign intervention. It is forced into existence strictly when citizens reclaim their agency, block by block.